you are the one holding everything together, the business doesn't actually have reliable systems. I'm Alexis Lewis. I am an accountant at Little Ledgers Accounting, and today I want to bring to you some solutions for how you can stop being the only one handling everything and you can get your systems together. Recently, when I was on a monthly call, this childcare owner has been working with us for the last 9 months or so. She owns several different locations. It's a growing center. It has solid annual recurring revenue, but she is overwhelmed. And so we were going over everything to just kind of figure out where things were. So by the end of this live, you're going to understand how to identify the first thing to fix at your childcare center without burning yourself out. Here's the thing. Most childcare owners come to me saying the payroll is too high, staff isn't performing the way that they want. They're really frustrated about that part. They're doing everything themselves, and cash is feeling really tight. And just to let you know and give you some reassurance, none of that makes you bad at business. Not one single piece of it. It actually usually means that the business has either outgrown its systems or the systems are no longer working for you or were never set up. So what we uncovered with that client was that it wasn't actually a staffing problem or a money problem. It was a systems enforcement problem. With this client, the policies already existed, but they weren't being enforced. The role existed, so they already had the staff people in place, but they hadn't really owned the role and the responsibilities that come along with that role. The owner still was the system. So the owner was the one having to catch all of the things that were coming to her instead of having systems that would run on her behalf. So again, if you are the one holding everything together, the business doesn't actually have reliable systems. So this is where most advisors get it wrong. They try to fix payroll, they try to fix staffing, they try to fix tuition and leadership issues and systems all at once. I don't do that because overwhelmed owners don't implement, and we want implementation. The first thing that you're going to do if you realize that you have a systems enforcement or a systems issue is you want to find the leak. You want to fix the highest impact system first, and then everything else will start to stabilize afterward. For this client, the solution wasn't hiring new people, it wasn't firing people who were already in place, and it wasn't raising her prices. It was enforcing the tuition policies that already existed and enforcing them consistently. So tuition was being paid late on a regular basis by several of the parents that were bringing children into their center. And what that means for the business owner is that it's delayed cash. And when you have delayed cash, that means that you're not able to pay people on time. Maybe your payroll feels tighter than it needs to be. Your utilities aren't being able to be paid on time, or you're late on bills that you need to pay in order to keep your center running. So when tuition is paid late, it negatively affects your business and adds overwhelm and stress to you as the owner. What that delayed cash means is that there's payroll stress for you. And when there's payroll stress for you, it simply means that, again, you're going to be overwhelmed as the owner. So with that payroll stress comes burnout for you as the owner of the center. And that's not what you want either. You're trying to get out of the day-to-day of the business, generally speaking. And so you want to be able to lower that stress, lower that rate of burnout. So with this client, it wasn't about being strict. Okay, it wasn't about being strict or, forgetting where you came from or, not being understanding of people's financial situations, but it was about protecting the business. And when you're protecting the business, that means you're also protecting your employees. It means you're also protecting your sanity. It's also protecting your peace. Okay. And so here's how I helped that client to become aware of what the solution should be and how you should do that also in your center as well. So first, you're going to slow the conversation down. I know sometimes I can talk kind of fast, but we're going to slow the conversation down. I want you to pick out 3 different things that you think are your biggest issues at your center. And then I want you to pick just one thing that is going to help you gain momentum, one thing that's going to have the pendulum swing the farthest, one thing that's going to make the biggest impact. And generally speaking, that's going to be something that is allowing you to not have to be so wrapped up in the business and having to do everything on your own. So I asked her to pick one thing, and I want you to do the same thing for your business as well, okay? And when you do that one thing, I'm not going to rescue you from actually having to do what comes with that decision. The solution that you're wanting is actually going to come from you picking the issue first. All right. So you're going to pick the issue. What picking the issue is going to allow you to do is have less stress. Right? It's going to allow you to have more pay. It's going to bring back your peace and give you more control. All right. So the goal with picking this thing isn't perfection. It's not going to fix everything across the board in your center. It's simply going to start to give you direction on where you should be moving forward. All right. So the goal isn't perfection. It's momentum. You're wanting to move forward. If your center is currently feeling chaotic, you probably don't necessarily need more effort. You need clearer priorities. So the priority for this owner was that what she was going to do was start to have her staff enforce the tuition policies that already existed. So for her center, they had a policy where they send out invoices on Thursdays, and on Monday, if you haven't paid that invoice, unfortunately, your child can't come into the center. That was the rule that was in their parent handbook, and it was made well aware of. However, the staff wasn't enforcing it. So when children and their parents were coming into the center on Monday without having paid the invoice for the prior week, they were still being allowed in. And this would go on for weeks at a time until parents were weeks and weeks behind, therefore making it harder and harder for them to be able to enforce that policy or actually be able to gain that revenue. Because if parents get weeks and weeks behind on the bill for childcare, it makes it harder and harder to pay. If they didn't have the money in week 1, what makes them have week 1, 2, and 3 together by week 4? The likelihood is smaller and smaller, and then you end up discounting and you end up making it so that people don't end up having to pay the bill at all, and their child gets to stay in care, and that doesn't help you having them enrolled but not having them pay. So one of the biggest things for her, the issue she realized, is that the payments were coming in late or never, and she was having to discount or disregard those payments altogether while still having to pay the cost for having those children in her center. So what we ended up doing was she contacted her staff, had them go into her child care management system, print out everyone who had an outstanding invoice, inform those parents, and let them know that on Monday, if this isn't paid, unfortunately, Sally Jane or Billy Joe cannot come into the building until it's, and we're so sorry that we have to do this, but we aren't able to bring them in. That also allows you to start having a waiting list. So that's another thing that you can start to implement as well. Okay. So if your center is feeling chaotic, specifically regarding tuition, that's one thing that you can take a note of. Have people been paying on time? If not, let's start enforcing that policy if it already exists. If it doesn't already exist and you're wanting to bring that in, then go ahead and do that and allow for people to start implementing that system, and don't let it be you. Okay, you as the owner should not be the one enforcing this. If you have a director in place, if you have an assistant director, a program director, whatever you may have titled that person, they should be the one who's handling the enforcement. Maybe you go through a 1-day training or a 1-week training with them to allow them to be able to now do this without your assistance. But it's one thing that you do want to get off of your plate that you're not having to deal with. Okay, it helps them to understand your policies and know what they are as well. Expectations. All right. So if you want help figuring out what to fix first at your center, okay, this is for this specific owner, but if you want to know what to fix first in your center, in your childcare business, book a call with me. The link is in our description or in the box. You know where that stuff is. The link is in the bio. That's exactly what I do. I help you to figure out what to fix first in your childcare center so that you can free yourself up and be able to get yourself out of the day-to-day business, reduce some of that overwhelm, and improve your financial, the financial picture of your business.